Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. We're really happy that you could be with us. We've got a great presentation for you today. We're going to be talking about the rise of embedded video. So how you can take advantage of video communications inside your own applications and services. My name is Ben Pinkerton. I'm a Senior Director of Product Management at Vidyo. And I'm joined today by Tsahi. Tsahi, can you introduce yourself?
I'm Tsahi Levent-Levi, consultant and analyst, blogging me for those who know that website, and also CEO of WebRTC, company dealing with testing and monitoring these types of services.
And the reason we're all joining here today is to talk about this report that we've just put together, the Rise of Embedded Video report. This was actually research that was conducted by Vidyo and bloggeek.me in August of this year. We actually surveyed 349 product development professionals. So these are developers, management professionals, product managers, CTOs, and so forth, primarily concentrated in North America and Europe. And we conducted this survey to collect their input and insights around how they're using embedded video communications in their own applications and services. And if you'd like to get a copy of your report, of this report, you can actually do that at the URL you see there. If you go to www.vidyo.com/embedded, you'll be able to find the report and download the full details there. But we're going to take you through a little bit of the information from that report, as well as give you some interesting tips. Tsahi.
Yes, I think what we'll start with is, first of all, understanding why we're even talking about embedding video communications. What is the incentive to do that? Then we'll go through when to embed video. Okay, it's not that every time we're going to do that, but there are scenarios where it makes a lot of sense to do it. In order to give you some value out of this sitting with us here, we're going to leave you off with 5 tips of how to get you started. What are the things that you need to do in order to get there with embedded video communications? So first of all, before we even ask why, let's ask what. What exactly is embedded video communications? And for me, it's the transformation that we're doing today for communication as a whole and video specifically, from being a service to becoming a feature within another service. Okay, think about it this way. Up until today, if you had to make a phone call or do a video call, use a phone for that, or a very specific application that you had to download, install, and run. So you are inside a service, and that service is being decided and how it works, when it works. So everything around it has been decided for you. Now, if you need to take that kind of an experience and then put it and stitch it into something else, into a larger service that requires more steps and different types of communications or different types of mediums, you now need to embed that video communication into something else, into your own business processes. It's not a service, it's just a feature within your service. And that for me is embedded video communications. Now, if you think about people and communicating with businesses, how this has been done, throughout the last 100 years or so, the best thing is, if you need to go speak to someone within a business, you would go speak to someone physically. You would go in person, into the store, into the company, into the business, and just go to someone and speak to him. Then we had phone calls. You can now phone the business if you want something, and that's how call centers start popping out, okay, dealing with calls coming from customers and potential customers. In the last few years, we've seen a lot of messaging happening, either through email, chat widgets on websites, SMSs, social media, whatnot, okay? Different types of messages, and these are asynchronous in nature. You send something, you'll receive something back. It can be 2 or 3 seconds from now, it can be 20 seconds from now, a minute, or half a day. Then there's video. Today, there are businesses where I can actually dial in with a video call through an application or from the web in order to conduct this communication with the business. Businesses today communicate with customers or even enable customers to talk with other customers, or they make these calls internally on their own because they need it. So that's why we need video communications. And for me, for example, video is very important to my business. What you see here is a screenshot we took a few weeks ago. Same room, no bag behind me this time. When what we did, me and Ben, was talk about this webinar, what we're going to do, what we're going to talk about, synchronizing that work. The reason we were doing that is because Ben is living in New Jersey, I'm assuming. Video is in New Jersey. I actually don't know where you live, Ben.
Yeah, I actually live in Ohio, so even a little bit further from you.
Okay, and I'm in Israel, which is just like the other side of the world. And as a consultant, most of my customers are not living in Israel, they're living abroad. So my business involves the fact that I can do a video calls with my customers. They would not be my customers that easily without having this as a capability. It might not be an embedded one, though I did play with embedding video within my own business, okay? But video is important for my business. And the question is it important for your business as well? Probably. So when are we going to use embedded video? And the best answer I can give you is it's not for everyone, okay? Not every use case requires video communications, but many of them actually do.
Yeah, and there's a lot of benefits to embedded video should you choose to go this way. And what we're seeing are many companies are finding embedded video as a great way to talk to and engage with their customers for a number of different reasons. One is the flexibility and the ability to customize and brand the video experience. So with a turnkey video application, it pretty much is what it is. You don't have the ability to make much by way of changes to the experience or the flow or even the layout or the look and feel. But with embedded video, you're inherently working with APIs that let you have a much higher degree of customizability. So it allows you to take that video experience, put it into your website or your mobile app, and it has your look, your feel, and your brand. So it's part of the appearance or the front end that you're giving to your customers or your constituents. Another benefit is that it gets to integrate directly into your workflow. So you're not relying upon someone else's workflow to bring people into that conversation. So with a sort of traditional video communication or collaboration tool, they're generally designed around a meeting workflow. You join a meeting, you're talking together through sort of a meeting format. But when you're engaging with customers, for example, you might have a very different workflow you want to take them through. Perhaps you need to prompt them for some information on the front end. Maybe you need to hand them off from one type of person who does the initial call screening to another type of person like a supervisor, or having maybe multiple tiers or layers that you need to involve someone in. The point is, with embedded video, you have the flexibility to completely and fully define that workflow, and you can engage or integrate the video communications exactly at the point at which it's needed when you need the communications with that end user. And finally is the ability to embed it. It's not a separate app. It's actually integrated directly into your own application, whether that's a web app or a mobile app or even a native desktop application. You can have the video communications as part of your overall communication or product offering. And so what are the types of use cases where you can use embedded video? So first off, you have one-to-one use cases. And these are typically sort of a customer engagement type of use case or consultations. Perhaps it's a doctor talking to a patient, checking in or reviewing maybe the results of some tests. But there's also group call applications where you might have a group of people that are together. Think of your traditional team collaboration applications or perhaps social apps where you're bringing together people over different parts of the country to maybe play a game together or share about their experiences or connect with friends and family. Or you might have training applications and education. So bringing people together or a classroom together in front of a professor or a subject matter expert so they can share that knowledge with the broader group. Another segment to consider are the see what I see type applications. So these are really relevant around having sort of remote expertise where you've got someone who's in the field, maybe a field technician, who's then communicating back to the remote expert. So perhaps there's an engineer that's at headquarters that needs to see what's happening with a piece of equipment or machinery in the field. And rather than having to send that person out in person to engage and look at the technology themselves, they might be able to diagnose and troubleshoot the issue much quicker by having that field technician share what it is they're seeing remotely. There's also uses for see what I see in things like insurance claims, as well as in healthcare, where maybe you want to show your doctor a rash or maybe a wound that you have to see whether or not it makes sense to go to the hospital or go to the doctor's office, for example. And then finally is around efficiency, where you're maybe trying to reduce a footprint, a physical footprint in a location by not having to have so many experts in that one location, but have them centrally located but still provide a presence. And we see this by, for example, having in-store kiosks where maybe you have product experts that are remotely located, but they're still providing the same level of service as if there was an expert in store. Or perhaps providing hospital bed terminals where a doctor can be centrally located and do virtual rounds by connecting to each of the hospital beds directly and performing those round services without having to physically be present. So there's a variety of different use cases or applications that can be unlocked with embedded video, all powered by the fact that you can integrate it into a specific workflow and customize it and tailor it to your specific needs. So in our survey, we actually polled respondents that already have embedded video communications, and we asked them, how important is the embedded video communication as part of your product offering? And it was really interesting to see that 80% of them rated the embedded video component as either very important or extremely important. And that just means that they see a tremendous value in this capability. It's not just sort of a gimmicky feature that's being added to their product, but it's actually delivering a lot of value that's highly important to the way that they're doing business with their product or service. So when we looked at, when we surveyed our respondents, we asked them, what are the top use cases for embedded video where you're seeing it used? And what was interesting here is that we saw that 3 out of 4 of the top use cases all involved customer communications. So an organization speaking to their constituents, whether it's providing technical support services, which was number 1, number 3 was customer service or engagement, and number 4 was video assisted sales. So providing this ability to be able to reach out to their customer. So we really reached a point where video communications is no longer just for internal communications within an organization, but we're actually using video to communicate outside of our organizations to be able to reach our customers and provide better service to them. Tsahi, did you have anything to add there?
Yes, I actually wanted to jump in. And I think that's where embedded video communications come into play. You have these, the 4 top ones. There's unified communications in there. That's boring. That's what enterprises do today. They have video communication. They, bought a solution from one company or another. One of these companies actually video, and they're using it internally. They've, someone in IT decided this is what we're going to use, and this is how it is used. So it's a service. But now all of these other use cases started to come in, like technical support and customer service, video assisted sales. All of these go and look outside. How do we communicate not just between ourselves, but with other people that are external to the company? And this is where we start embedding video, because now brand awareness is important. This is where we want to do a very specific workflow that we go through. It's going to be different type of authorization, because we can no longer use our Active Directory inside the company, and a lot of these things come to play. And this embedding means that we can't just use a unified communications solution for that. We need to have something that is flexible enough with APIs that allows us to do these integrations.
Exactly.
So here are, yes.
Go ahead, Tsahi.
So here we get to the 5 tips to get you started, okay? And these are like rules that if you need something to take out of this webinar, it's these 5 tips. We already saw that embedded video communications is happening, it's needed, we saw when we're going to use it, and let's say that you decided that this is important enough, what should you do next? And I'd say that the first thing you need to do is to identify the use case that you have in mind, okay? There are many places where video communications can go into your business. Even if you say, well, I need it in the contact center. Well, guess what? You can put it in different places inside your contact center. And what you're going to look for is something that is a high-value interaction. You're not going to sell, this thing that I'm playing with in my hand just because I need to play with something. It's not worth it. It will cost more to do the video interaction than what I'm trying to sell or buy. So what do we mean by high value? First of all, this is a relationship selling. What I'm selling you is a relationship. For me as a consultant, the only reason for doing these video interactions would be relationship selling. Why? Because I'm selling myself at the end of the day. I'm selling this relationship with a customer. You have that with your customers as well. And if they're high value and you're trying to do relationship selling, then yes, use video. The second thing is empathy. Okay, if you are trying to convey empathy or trying to get empathy or understand what your customers are feeling and going through, then video is the way to go. It will be better than voice, believe me. And the third thing is visual. Do you need to visualize something? Okay, I don't want you to see me, I just need you to see this thing next to me that is not working, it's broken. Okay, or actually I do want you to see me because I'm consulting you about haircuts, styling, whatever it is. Okay, so there are use cases that are going to be highly visual. So look for something that is of high value. It needs to have at least one of these 3: relationship selling, empathy, or visual, and it can have more than one. And you might have multiple use cases. Start with one.
Yeah, if I could just jump in there, Tsahi.
Yes.
Empathy, especially in the healthcare space, is very important because a lot of times it's very difficult to ascertain, a patient's condition or how they're feeling just from their voice alone, as you pointed out. So to be able to see, are they okay with the information we're giving them? Are they showing confusion? Do they really understand the medication that we prescribe for them or the directions we want them to follow? It's really vital because it helps to make that crystal clear communication happen so that we're sure that the right care is being delivered in the context of healthcare, especially.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Now, the second tip is go and find a video solution. You need to make a decision. Are you going to build it on your own from scratch? And that means, using open source, developing it internally, finding commercial tools and building it, then hosting it, managing, maintaining, running, updating, upgrading, okay? Or are you going to buy it from someone else? And when I'm talking about buying, it's using communication platform as a service, CPaas. These are companies that build these video capabilities, provide them through an API, and allow you to do this embedding where they take care of the video infrastructure and you can take care of your use case and the business flow around it. For me, it's the difference between this build versus buy. It's understanding, are you going to be in the early adopters who usually prefer building because there are no tools around or because they are builders? Or are you going to buy? And this is the early and late majority of the companies that we see today. And if we go back again to the research that we've done, what we've seen is that this year, more than 30% of the respondents are now moving towards using CPaas, using communication platform as a service and buying instead of building. It's more than we had the year before. I don't recall the exact numbers, but it shows that we're moving from an early adapters phase into an early majority phase of companies, where more are actually focused on what they need to achieve and less on the actual technologies that make that happen. Now, the third tip, now that we've decided on the use case, decided we're going to build or buy and who we're going to use, we need to identify the resources that we have internally. Okay, how are we going to make this happen? Even if we decide to use CPaas, and even if we haven't, this is a question that you need to answer. What are the type of technologies and skill sets that you have in the company? And what are the technologies and skill sets that you are going to need in order to make it happen? Okay. Some vendors would prefer building it on their own and doing it entirely in-house. And some would go and outsource it internally. And that's what we've seen in our research. 53% are doing everything in-house, 42% everything outsourced. For me, it was weird to see that only 6% are outsourcing only parts of it. I was expecting to see more of that. Companies that say, we'll take this piece and we'll outsource that piece and not deal with that one. I think the mixture will change as we move forward in time.
And Tsahi, do you think that there is an increase in system integrators that are entering the market that have more familiarity with dealing with these types of embedded video APIs and CPaas platforms?
That's a good question. So to start off, video communications today is done using a technology called WebRTC. There were outsourcing vendors that started 5 or 6 years ago with that. They are still here with us, and they are still the dominant players or the most known ones. You see a lot of others coming in, less known, and you see vendors that did only websites or only mobile apps and are now doing also things with WebRTC because they're the customer that wanted them to do that. I see a lot of times projects that actually fail. And they fail because the company selected an outsourcing vendor that was clueless about video communications, and the result is like disastrous. So I would take your question to somewhere else. If you are going to use an outsourcing vendor, make sure you're not the first one, the first project he does that is embedded video communications. That's the first thing. And the second thing is on the other side, on the flip side, if you're going to do it entirely in-house, be sure that you understand what video really is before jumping in and building stuff from scratch, or even using CPaas, because you are going to fail more than once. So find someone to assist you with that. So let's move on to the fourth tip. And this one is focused on the user experience. This is really important, okay? When you think about it, you say, okay, let's do video communications. We slap an iframe here, put a canvas, put the video inside it, and that's it, we're done. That's the only thing we need to design and work on, and that's it. But it's not like that. You need to think about the flow from beginning to end. You need to deal with edge cases. What happens if the user decided not to allow access to the camera? How do you do a video call then? What happens if he has no camera? Or he has more than a single microphone on his device? What happens if his device is muted? Okay, all of these stupid minor things are going to cause problems to your customers. And you need to think about the users also in terms of how tech savvy they are. If they are not technically savvy, then you're going to deal with things like, well, they tried doing a video call and didn't work because, I don't know, where were you? Inside an elevator. Guess what? There is no network in an elevator usually, so you won't get any network to do a video call. Okay, so there are these things that you need to deal with and to decide what to do when they happen. So for example, if the network is bad, you might want to disable video automatically for your users, or just tell them your network is bad. You should experience network issues. It sounds stupid because they're experiencing it anyway, But if you tell them that, then it's not the problem of your service, it's a problem of the network. So there are a lot of psychological issues here that come to play within the user experience. There's complex browser scenarios. If you're using WebRTC and you want people to access your service from the browser, then great. But they will not be able to access it through Safari running iOS 10. They would with Safari 11 or 12, but not with 10. And not everyone have upgraded. If you're using an Android device, that's great for you, but now what happens if that person is using a Samsung device with a Samsung browser and not Chrome? Again, it won't work. What happens if someone opens it from inside Facebook, where the browser there is a web view running inside Facebook, inside the Android device? What are you, okay, so you need to decide what to do then. One thing is to say, well, it's not working here, go elsewhere. The other one is to throw it out into a Chrome browser, which is also possible. There are a lot of ways to deal with these things. But the first thing you need to do is to think about it from beginning to end and deal with all of these edge cases. Now, this is something that we talked about, Ben and I, when I just raised it and put it on the slide, and he said, well, it's not that interesting. And that's the last one. Will your user see himself? Okay? And here's the thing. There are multiple things that can go wrong with users seeing themselves or not seeing themselves. Think about these things. They are going to happen. Go through them. Make sure that you know what you're doing or what your expectations are, because someone is going to develop it for you, even if it is your own developers, and if you don't give them an exact spec, they're going to ruin it for you. So make sure to be very detailed in that regard.
Are there any recommendations you have for people that are kind of going through the UX? Like, are there tools or things they can look for to help give them a jump start?
No.
Okay.
No, there is nothing. There are two things. One of them, I'm here. Okay, seriously, I do consulting for these things. Don't come to me. There are probably a few others that can do it as well. Go search for them. Go and work with someone that knows these things, that has done work in the video conferencing domain in the past. Okay? When you go and do these things, also go and check other applications. Go to those that are commonplace. Okay, Facebook Messenger, WhatsApp, Google Hangouts, Skype, Zoom, whatever, video communications. Okay? Look at these apps. Understand what they are doing. What are the steps that they take? Look at applications and services within your domain and your space. Ask yourself, what do you like about them? What you don't? What can you do better? What do they do very well? These are the things that I usually do when customers come to me. I don't, some of this stuff I know in advance because I've done it before and I'm within this domain for the last 20 years or so. But oftentimes I would go and check what others are doing, because it's interesting and because I get new ideas from that. So do that. Now, the last tip, and that's important, don't wait. Okay? Start yesterday. It is important because if you think that video communication, embedded video communication is something that you can do and you found the use case, then go build it. It's not that expensive anymore to go and try it out. And you can get some interesting results with that. If you don't do it, well, your competitors are going to do it. I'm not going to use FUD in order to get you there, but it will happen. If you do it, you might be innovating for your customers. You might reduce their churn. You might, reduce your costs, your expenses, because now people don't need to travel internally or externally or whatever, and use video calling for that instead within that embedded platform, and do it because it's fun. Okay, it's going to be an interesting project to do and deal with. So just go do it.
Yeah, I think that's an important point too, is to set out what your goals are going to be. What are the KPIs that you're going to measure success on? Because that is something we've seen a lot of companies start down the journey and don't really think about how to measure success. Okay, we did this embedded video thing. Did it work or not? And to not know on the front end what you're trying to solve is really a key. And you made another good point about the competitive nature. We're seeing many organizations especially in financial services, the smaller banks are trying to innovate so they can compete with the larger banks, and they're using embedded video communications to provide better customer service that gives them an edge over the competition.
Yes. So we had 5 tips. Identify the use case, okay? Make sure that it's high value. Then find a video solution, decide if you're building or buying, if you want to be in the early adopters or early majority. Identify the development resources that you have. Are you going to do it in-house, externally by outsourcing some of it or all of it? Focus on the user experience. Make sure that you do it from beginning to end, taking care of all of the edge cases, understanding what goes in there. And then the last one is just don't wait and do it today. And you added the 6th tip just now. Okay.
So if you do think an embedded video project makes sense for you, we would like for you to take a look at Vidyo.io. This is really the CPaas, or Communication Platform as a Service, that we have developed at Vidyo. Vidyo has been around for over a decade, and we've spent countless hours refining and improving our core technology, and we have exposed and provided that technology through our Vidyo.io CPaas offering. And it allows you to take advantage of all of those years of innovation and development and the refining of the technology to be able to integrate it into your own product or app. So we provide the customization available to you. You have the full ability to custom brand it. It carries your look and feel. And we fully host it as a cloud service. So you don't need to become experts, or your DevOps people don't need to become experts on real-time communications and how to manage servers for real-time communications, which, by the way, are quite a bit different than hosting, say, a web application. The performance attributes and the way that you need to provision it and manage it are quite a bit different than other types of server infrastructure that maybe your DevOps team is used to. So we handle all of that for you. We also provide full, cross-platform set of APIs and SDKs, so you can build a web app or a mobile app for iOS and Android, or a native desktop application. So it really gives you the ability to reach your users or your customers on their preferred device. So it allows you to launch with full cross-platform support. And we've designed the APIs in a very consistent way, so that once you learn the behavior and how to build for one platform, it's very easy to add support for the other platforms, because everything works the same no matter which platform you're building for. And finally, depending upon where your users or customers are, they may be connecting from different parts of the globe. So we provide a full global network, so that everything is optimized, and you get geolocation so that you're always entering our network to the nearest entry point possible to you. And that helps provide a better quality of service. It helps reduce latency and hiccups on the network, so that you get a better overall user experience. So we definitely think if you've got an embedded video project, please check out Vidyo.io for that project. And just a reminder, we just covered a small bit of the information that we conducted in this research study in this webinar today. But to get the full embedded video report, you can go to vidyo.com/embedded, and you'll also see that it's available in the handout section of this webinar tool, so you can download it directly from there. So go ahead and download the report, and look through it and see some of the interesting insights that we discovered while conducting the survey and doing the analysis. And with that, we'd like to thank you all for joining. We really appreciate your time, and we hope you found this webinar informative, as well as the report itself. And at this point, we will be taking questions. So if you haven't asked any questions, please go ahead and enter those into the QA tool, and we'll be able to take those questions and provide answers now. So thank you so much for your time. We greatly appreciate it.